12:10 a.m. My gate screamed like a stuck animal, and the cut piece bounced twice on the gravel. Then a line of men in black polos came up my driveway with bolt cutters. Spray paint that false swagger people practice in the mirror. And for a second, I just stood there in my hallway with the lamp behind me and thought, well, here we go. This is the part where they pretend their clipboard is a badge, and my name is the problem. I'm Evan Cole, 56, retired detective, who moved south of Fairview because tomatoes tell the truth and chickens argue less than suspects. My place sits 3 miles past the fancy stone sign for Sagebrook Heights, and I don't pay their dues. I don't use their pool. I don't live under their rules. But that never stopped their president, Paula Green, from walking up to my locked gate at 8:02 a.m. in a beige suit and a smile that never reached her eyes, and saying loud enough for the cameras, "Good morning, mister. Cole, unlock the gate so we can do a compliance inspection." And the man beside her, Darren Pike, head of their so-called security, counted my cameras with his finger like he was doing math that made him powerful. I kept my hands where they could see and my voice calm. Because that stays in your bones, yeah? I'm retired. But it's not my first rodeo. Your waterfall rocks are 3.1 miles east. Unless you've got a court order, this gate stays shut. And I watched her smile crack a hairline while my motion light snapped on. And Darren flinched, then tried not to, and I went back to watering beans like the scene was over when we all knew it wasn't. The letters started before sunrise, gold-embossed letterhead that wanted to look like the state of Colorado and almost fooled someone who wanted to be fooled. Slid under my gate at 6:00 a.m., 52 violations. 5,000 due in 7 days, 500 per day. After that, they cited me for unauthorized agricultural activity, which is a fancy way of saying, chickens smell like chickens. And I laid those pages on my kitchen table, took photos, saved 3 copies. You never keep 1 copy when people in suits are playing tough. You know what I mean? And while I was doing that, the neighborhood app lit up with blurry photos from across my fence. Words like suspicious and blight, and health risk strangers with brand new profiles chiming in, like they lived inside my coop. My neighbor Harper Lane, a lawyer with a spine like rebar, skimmed the packet. Laughed once, then drafted a certified response that said, "What the map already said. You have 0 jurisdiction. You will stop the harassment. All contact through counsel. Signed and sent. Return receipt." Paula's signature stamped at 4:47 p.m., which I loved more than I should have. That afternoon, they tried Muscle 3 black SUVs blocked the lane shoulder to shoulder, like we were filming something and forgot permits. 8 guys in polos fanned out, one with a German Shepherd. That looked embarrassed to be there. Darren's bolt cutters hung off his belt like a threat. He wanted me to notice. I wiped my hands on my jeans and walked over. Slow, not fast, and not scared. "Nuisance inspection," he said. "Open the gate." And I said, "Show me a warrant or a judge's order or literally anything with a seal that isn't clip art." And he raised his voice like volume makes law. "We don't need a warrant, self-governance authority," so I pulled my phone and hit speaker 911. I have 8 individuals at my gate, claiming legal authority to enter without a court order. One is displaying bolt cutters. The dispatcher did her thing, asked for my name and address, said units on the way, and 2 of his guys stepped back because the word recording does that to people. Paula stepped out, heels snapping like punctuation jaw. Tight told her men, "Pack it up, we have what we need." And Darren gave me that look. The bravado boys give when they need to leave, but can't do it with dignity. This isn't over, and I said, weather never is, which is my way of saying I'm not moving. That night I found a sloppy test cut in the chain link behind the Oaks tie. Wire twisted like a child did. The repair size 11 prints. Heel deep like he carried weight. I photographed, didn't fix. Brewed coffee and sat with my monitors, 14 angles of quiet. The gray sedan back in its little nest across the road. 2 vans farther down with lights off and people inside doing that stillness. That fools you. If you don't know what boredom looks like when it wants to be stealth. And around 10:30, my phone buzzed with a text from a nothing name that meant everything. Stay ready, Miguel Barnes, my old partner, now the county chief, doesn't text like that unless a plan has teeth. If this sounds like a trap. Yeah, that happened. But it wasn't illegal 2 months earlier. Miguel had shown up out of uniform, sat on my porch, and told me about families bullied into selling fines, stacked like bricks. Rumors spread like oil. Houses flipped through friendly contractors. Weak cases because scared people make thin paper. He needed a place to stage an evidence site off the radar and inside the law. My barn is dry, sturdy, exactly nowhere. An HOA can claim we signed a memo, installed server racks, and logging locked chain of custody. Tighter than a bank from the road, it still looked like my old barn. Inside it was blinking lights and numbered boxes, and the kind of order that makes a prosecutor smile in his sleep. Close to midnight, the engines I'd been counting got closer. Slow and theatrical. 4 vehicles total by my ear. 1 hung back. Paula's Range Rover, another parked by the bend with a clean view of the barn. 2 rolled to my gate, like they didn't want to. But did. Doors slid open, men moved with just enough coordination to be dangerous, and just enough slop to be predictable. Teams split, house, barn. Overwatch, someone raised a can and painted a lens black. Like that would do anything to a system. Streaming off-site for hours. And I stood in my hallway, hands visible. Door unlocked on purpose, because Miguel's rule was simple. Do not interfere. Be visible. Let them fully commit. And that's not heroism. That's math. The cut hit at 12:15 and sang. Darren came through first, like he owned my dirt. Called out, "Hey, security." Authorized inspection. Step aside, and I kept my voice steady. This is breaking and entering, and the paint on that camera just turned. Trespass into felony vandalism. Think about your next step. His men walked my living room with muddy boots and busy hands, like they had practiced on empty houses. They weren't here for me. They were here for the barn. And at those doors. Team 2 clipped the lock. Slid the panels. Swept flashlights. And the look on their faces when they saw evidence tape and case numbers and a server rack blinking like Christmas. I won't lie, that look kept me warm. Later, one reached for the tape with a kind of greedy hope, and the whole place detonated into daylight. Floods snapped on the rafters. Found a voice, police. You are trespassing on a secure evidence facility. Hands visible. Do not move. And out past my porch, the sky filled with a rotor thump and a spotlight that doesn't care about HOA bylaws, red and blue, washed my walls. The gray sedan birthed vests with police in letters, so big a blind man could read them too. Vans rolled out of the trees like they'd been bark all night. An Overwatch runner got 10 feet before a K9 made a different plan for his evening. Paula floored the Range Rover hit spike strips and sat there with her phone to her ear, like any lawyer would say. Keep going. You're doing great." Miguel's voice came across the yard, friendly as a funeral. "Paula Green. You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, criminal trespass, tampering with evidence, obstruction of justice. Step out with your hands visible. And in my kitchen, a kid I trained years ago asked straight-faced for the record, sir. Are you injured?" And I said I was fine, because I was scared, and fine can live in the same body. You know what I mean. They cuffed Darren. He put his forehead on my doorframe 1 second, like regret needed wood. Crime scene techs bagged the cut lock, the painted covers, the heel prints, the smear on my entry table, where a glove-brushed varnish of phones went into bags. And when the cyber team slid Paula's laptop into evidence like a sleeping baby and grinned, because she hadn't logged out, that was a small mercy from the gods of dumb luck. I gave a statement from sunrise to coffee time. "You speak in anchors, so a jury can see a picture." He stepped left. He raised his right hand, red-handled cutters with chipped paint, and then the flood. I didn't expect chats with names like board core and investors, and moving through shells, bonuses labeled. Success, the phrase Paula typed more than once that made my mouth taste like pennies. Find something or make something. And if you want to understand a whole scheme circle, the sentence that tells on itself, and read it 5 times. The numbers grew. Arrests across 2 counties. Planners, a bank officer. Multiple boards, injunctions. Froze enforcement. Families moved back into homes. They were bullied out of a 9-year-old, ran into his old bedroom, and threw himself on a bed. His mother had cried over selling, and I stood in the yard and let the noise of a good thing soak into my bones. Sentencing day, gray suit. Small voice, Paula told the judge it was about community standards and safety and property values, and the judge didn't raise her voice, she just hardened it. Community standards are not weapons. When you use them like weapons, you stopped protecting your neighbors and started preying on them. 22 years, 10 million in restitution barred from any board that can enforce anything, feel like a stone in wet earth. It didn't echo, it just stayed. That's the part where you think the credits roll. But endings are messy. Some guys at the bottom got numbers that will eat their 20s. Some officials pled to charges that made people mad. Reforms went on paper. Budgets, posted meetings. Bylaws, rewritten. And paper is good. But people are better neighbors. Wave at my fence now. And they also watch the slow cars. That watch them, my new sign says respect boundaries. And folks laugh at that, and they aren't wrong. Corn grows here too, and every time I see that sign, I hear a midnight bolt cutter. And remember how quiet you have to be to win loud. So talk to me. Was the sentence fair or too much? Are HOAs keeping neighborhoods safe, or did we all just watch what happens when power answers? Only to itself have you seen fines used like crowbars or rumors, like handcuffs. If you think turning my barn into an evidence site crossed a line, say it. If you've got a story about a clipboard hitting your door too hard, share it, hit like. If you want more real stories told by people who lived them, subscribe if you want the next chapter. And tell me in the comments where the line is in your town. Whose rules are these, and who do they serve?